Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Business Success Podcast. My name is Shamira Anita, and I am the CEO and founder of Business Success. And today I have the privilege of talking with Rose Bouvet, who is the Senior Manager of International Tax at Ernst & Young, and she's also the head of EY Novation here in Curacao. Which we will be talking more about. She's going to give us some more background on all of these different things. And today we'll be talking about a very controversial topic when it comes to entrepreneurship, which is taxes, which is something that not a lot of entrepreneurs like. I know myself, I'm also an entrepreneur, and it's really a controversial topic, something that not many of us like, but we all know that two things is true in life: death and taxes. So we can't avoid it, unfortunately, and it's not right to avoid it either. So we will be talking more about different types of taxes and also how it impacts entrepreneurship, how it impacts the whole idea of starting and growing a business as well. But before we jump into that, Rosé, thank you very much for being a part of this podcast. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for taking the time to share all of this knowledge that you have about the area, the specific topic of taxes, which is something that's very important. Something that's sometimes elusive for a lot of entrepreneurs as well. They don't really understand it, and we'll be diving a lot deeper into this topic and talking about different areas of it as well. But before we get into the questions, I wanted to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself and also give us a bit of a background of who you are, what your education is, your career. Just give us a big background about who you are and what makes you a specialist when it comes to taxes.
Thank you so much for having me. Bon Simon, happy Monday. My name is Rose Bouvet, born and raised in the most beautiful country of the world, Friesland, in the north of the Netherlands. Spent the first 19 years of my life there, then moved to the big city of Amsterdam to study first Dutch corporate law, focused on international trade and insurance. Then I figured, well, there's more to life than liabilities. What about tax? Because that's pretty much how businesses decide how and where they establish themselves. So I did another master in taxation, focused on indirect taxes. Got to work at our EY Amsterdam office for about 4.5 years. And then was seconded to New York, to our head office over there for about 6 months. Stayed there 8 years. And after the hustle and bustle in Manhattan, figured, well, let's maybe take it a notch back, enjoy a more tranquil life. I love nature. I love the birds, the bees, everything. And since the last 5 years, I am here at EY Dutch Caribbean.
Awesome. No, thank you very much for that introduction. And that's why we're also wanting to talk to you, because we wanted to get some more insights when it comes to the topic of taxes. And as I said before, it's something that's really controversial when we're talking about entrepreneurship. It's definitely not something that any entrepreneur prepares for when they're talking about starting or growing their business. Myself, when I started my first business, taxes was the last thing on my mind. And sometimes, to be very fair, it still is. And that's when we were talking about entrepreneurship. A lot of entrepreneurs, especially aspiring entrepreneurs, they think mostly about their idea, their passion, how they can grow their business. And the last thing that they think about is taxes, which is something sometimes very detrimental to the growth and start of the business as well. So that leads us also to the first question. Since we're talking about, starting and growing a business, a lot of entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs are listening or watching right now. Many entrepreneurs feel and they believe that taxes is a real pain for both areas, for both starting a business and both about growing a business, because most of them don't have enough information about it. They don't know how to manage it or anything like that. And I heard once a friend of mine told me that, taxes destroy companies. So they really literally told me that's the biggest, destroyer of taxes. He wanted to eliminate taxes. Yep. He's also an entrepreneur. Yeah. So if somebody comes up to you and tells you this statement, taxes destroy companies, what would you say?
Well, they should call me, and I will help them destroy their taxes. No, I think first and foremost, entrepreneurs should do what they're good in, right? They have the guts to run a business. They have the guts, like I don't have, to not be on someone's payroll, but to do it all themselves, right? I think I have a lot of pride, or I'm very proud of entrepreneurs to see that they're just jumping in it head first and living their dreams. But entrepreneurs should do what they're good in and running their business in whatever industry their dream leads them to. My dream is to do taxes. So I think everybody should just do what they're good at, what they're passionate about. And my passion happens to be taxes. I've been doing this for around 17 years now. And I think the nicest revelation is that all the rules, and then I mean the rules that everybody's freaked out about, the ones that destroy businesses or that destroy the good night's sleep of an entrepreneur, or, you know, the one that creates fear, or the one that's taken away all their hard-earned profits. What entrepreneurs should do is get it right from the start. Entrepreneurs should really focus on their business, but while doing that, you have to really assure yourself that what is the foundation of your business, right? It's somewhere in the numbers. You don't just start a business from your porch, whatnot. There's some numbers. There's a plan. There's a foundation. There's some basic elements that come with running a business. Running your admin in a way and making sure your numbers are up to date, that your numbers are accurate, that your numbers reflect what you're doing, that you can learn from your numbers that also feed into your tax returns. Get that right from the start. Get yourself educated. Speak to your peers in the same industry. Speak to tax advisors like myself. And I think we're going to come to a little bit in terms of, should I go to like a big dog advisor or a smaller one? I do have some opinions on that. But taxes do not destroy businesses. Not managing your taxes destroys a business. You can very well manage your taxes properly. And I just got my revelation. All the rules that could destroy a business, but also the loopholes, right? The things that we always hear that big companies are using. We have one set of laws, guys. Those apply to the big dog companies and to the smaller ones. So it's the destructive ones that take away all your profits and your fun and your night's sleep, but it's also the loopholes and whatnot. Right. So you have to educate yourself and make sure that you manage it from the get-go and correctly. So businesses should first and foremost run their business and outsource whatever the things that you're not a specialist in. Because what I see happening, especially in the smaller, the young, the aspiring, the startup entrepreneurs, is that they're so freaked out about it. They don't have the time or the headspace to deal with taxes. So whenever an envelope comes in, whether it's a return or an assessment, they just stick it away. Like, oh, it's not there, I'm not seeing it, because they don't want to deal with it. Well, the problem doesn't go away. And that's when things get expensive. So you should not let it get to that point. So the cost of doing business also entails getting yourselves acquainted with the formal requirements. And the formal requirements are running an administration, so keeping your numbers up to date and keeping them proper, and you have to keep them for a set amount of years, and doing your taxes. It's a fundamental part of doing business, and thus there's a cost element to that, but that's part of running a business. You need your raw materials, or you need your labor, you need whatever you need in your specific industry to run a business. Getting your numbers up to date and keeping track of your taxes, to me, is a detrimental part of that.
Awesome. No, that's really, really true. And that's really something that a lot of entrepreneurs need to hear, because when we're talking about entrepreneurship, you normally talk about starting the idea. The idea is amazing. You're going to change the world. You're going to make an impact. You're going to improve people's lives and all of these things. And nobody comes up to you and tells you, hey, remember taxes. Right? So nobody does that. And that's why this episode of this podcast is so important, because I have a lot of friends that when they're talking about starting a business, that's the last thing that they think about. Not only their administration, but especially when it comes to taxes. And I have a lot of friends that their businesses have actually gone out of business because of taxes, because at a certain point they had so many penalties that they built up, and those penalties are not going to go away.
But there's no need, and that's exactly what I'm saying. Of course, call me, but don't let it get to that point, right? Like, not everybody will have me as their tax advisor or our firm as their books and records preparer and keeper, but do it right from the get-go, because these penalties, they don't just fall from the sky. These penalties come because of some ignorance or not dealing with it, right? If you're in the business of, selling fabric, and for 1 month you didn't order fabric, well, you're not going to sell to your customers. It's the same thing. Right. So embed tax and your numbers in your business. And of course, it's not the fun part to deal with. Of course, it takes away some of your profit, but that also means that maybe your whole business setup is not structured in a way that is most efficient. Because if businesses went under, it means that from a liability perspective, maybe your business structure, the way you arranged your companies wasn't right. Because you didn't do it from the get-go. I mean, if you're first starting your business, okay, there's a tipping point as to when you go from like a sole proprietorship to running a BV, NV, or whatnot, maybe a conglomerate of companies. There's no one size fits all. So
right. So and that's very true. And you really need to start preparing for this, especially in the beginning. Yes. And that leads us to the second question also, which is when starting a business, when trying to start or grow the business as a whole, many entrepreneurs don't think about taxes, and most of the time they wear a lot of different hats. Yeah. And we all know that one of the major obstacles when it comes to entrepreneurship is financing. Yeah. So not only don't they don't have the money to pay themselves, but they definitely don't have the money to hire an accountant. We just talked about, outsourcing those different types of things was a very important thing when it comes to business as well. So if we're talking about an entrepreneur that's aspiring to become an entrepreneur, or a very young entrepreneur, he just started, or he has only like a year in his company, he doesn't have the finances to go to Ernst & Young, for example, or hire any other types of accountant that would charge them amount of money on a monthly basis or even on a yearly basis to keep track of those things. Yeah. What would you advise them to do in that case?
Well, we have a program called EY Innovation, like you mentioned in the introduction. EY Innovation is our program specifically tailored to the startups, the scale-ups, the small businesses, the young and inspiring entrepreneurs. We teamed up with the government of the Netherlands, who has a subsidy program that is now open to the Caribbean part of the Netherlands too, whereby it's a voucher type system, whereby entrepreneurs can apply for 2 sets of vouchers, and we can really, and that totals to, I think, like between 4,000 and 6,000 euros. You know what I can do with 4,000 to 6,000 euros in terms of getting your numbers straight and give you a good idea on an efficient tax structure. So a lot of this is subsidized, which would make us a cheaper program than any average bookkeeper. I think the name Ernst & Young, of course, kind of entails there's a big sign, there's a big office, we're a global company. Oh, do I have the money to pay for that? Well, with this program, yes, you have. But like you just mentioned, because you gave an example of some friends of yours who are entrepreneurs who went under because of penalties. That penalties could have been the fees for your bookkeeper. It doesn't have to be me, anybody else. But make sure somebody that knows what they're doing looks at these numbers. Don't be freaked out about it.
Exactly. So that's really true. And we're definitely going to leave a link to this program also. And of course, you can have Rose's contact information also. It's an awesome program, and it really can help you also to start off the ground. Not only start off the ground with the finances that you need, but also with the knowledge that you need to start off right and continue right. Just like we said, it's unnecessary to build up all of those penalties. You can avoid all of those things.
Yeah, correct. And I think also, because you were just talking about finances in the first years of the company, right? When we're kind of in the real so-called startup, or like the immature, the baby phase of the company. The idea of a business always is, of course, to grow, right? Or there's a difference between a hobby and a business, right? If everything is just, fun and joy and it's never going to get anywhere, sorry, that's a hobby, or that's just, not a mature run business. But eventually, what you would want to be is also attractive to financiers. Financiers can be private. They can be public, like, some of the voucher and other programs, but also regular third-party investors. How can a business present themselves to a third-party investor, or maybe eventually go public? I mean, now I'm just talking ways years down the road, but you have to present your finances in a way that you're attractive to future customer, to potential business partners, to potential investors, because we as the advisors would take you under our wing, of course, groom you, mature your admin part of the business, what the entrepreneurs are good at is running their shop. By all means, that's what you need to do. We'll work on the boring part, because that's what makes us excited. But you have to make sure that maybe in 5 years from now, you want to set up a different business venture. So you want to have your numbers healthy looking to maybe, sell.
Right. Exactly.
How would you value your company if you don't know your own numbers? If you're going to a bank and you don't have your own house, then what's your collateral? Then you can say, oh, what's my business worth? Well, I've spent 3 years of my life, my blood, sweat, and tears. I don't even have a mortgage, and my kids' toys and everything is in there. This is worth 2 million guilders. Okay, how do you substantiate that? Because that's your numbers.
Right, exactly.
So it always comes down to the numbers, and your numbers feed into your tax.
Right.
So there we go again.
Yeah, a lot of people don't really understand that entrepreneurship or business is really a numbers game,
yes.
right? And the better you understand the game and the rules of the game, just like any other game, you end up winning.
Because the rules won't go away.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm just the messenger. I don't create these laws.
Yeah,
Please,
exactly.
by all means. I just break them down and make them digestible for you.
Exactly.
They won't go away. So exactly like you said, deal with them. They're part of your business. Nobody likes it. I don't even like to do my own taxes. But guess what? It's not going to go away.
Exactly. And a lot of people don't really understand then when they're talking about growth, and that's something that we will be talking about just in a couple of seconds here. But when we're talking about growth, the only way to really determine that is through your numbers. So many people think that, hey, I'm growing. I have a lot of
sales.
I have a lot of sales. I can hire more employees. But when you get into their numbers, they're not really making a profit. So that's also a way that and especially when you're trying to go to investors, or when you have to go to a bank if you want to expand, those things are very, very important. And especially if you even want to sell your company one day or go public, that's also when it becomes very important. And that's definitely something that we want to talk to right now. Also, we talked when we're talking about growth, which is something that a lot of young entrepreneurs really, really want more information on, because a lot of questions. There are a lot of questions when it comes to starting the business, but actually growing the business. Yeah. Many companies consist of only one employee, and that's the founder. Yeah. So that's definitely something that a lot of people have a lot of questions on. And when it comes to taxes and accounting, when you're growing, taxes become higher too. And, the entire administration becomes higher too. And you just mentioned a very interesting thing, because a lot of entrepreneurs don't understand that the same rules that apply to big companies apply to them as well. And I know this is going to be a bit of a controversial question, but something that a lot of entrepreneurs ask me as well, and maybe they're listening and watching right now, is also, how can I manage my finances or my taxes in a way that I avoid them as much as possible, which is something, to be very honest, it's something that's spoken into in today's world. So, and that's a question that we want to try to answer too.
Well, I mean, to this point, and this goes for businesses, but also private individuals. Taxes, and again, not in all countries, taxes are supposed to fund a social system. They are supposed to fund the roads that we drive on. They're supposed to fund the educational system. They're supposed to fund the hospital. So me personally, I don't dislike paying taxes because it's supposed to be for the greater good. If you make more money as an individual or as a business, you basically chip in more. Those are the rules of the game. You can do your business in other countries where you pay less and maybe you get less, fine. But fundamentally, that is the social system that we operate in, and I think it's a good and a balanced system. Are there ways to mitigate your taxes? Absolutely. Every entrepreneur, and especially what you just said in the growth phase, right? Could I hire another employee? Do I want to, change the company structure from the sole proprietorship to a BV? Or, there's cost associated to that as well. So I think it's always a cost-benefit analysis as to expanding the company, expanding the employee base, but also the entrepreneur, the starter itself, that probably has lived off, bread and peanut butter for 5 years while funding the business, right? Like, how much salary do you attribute to yourself? Well, there's rules in the income and wage tax legislation about that too. But people often don't know these rules, right? Growing a business, there's more taxes you have to pay. There's ways we can mitigate that, because more revenue means you pay more. But then educate yourselves on how to do that. I mean, I'm not going to give you all the tips and tricks right here, but I will tell you that they're there. And they're for everybody to tap into. but you need to get it right from the beginning, right? And it's, you have to take your business so serious that you manage this as well. And then growth is not scary anymore. But if we can go back to like the numbers, it's not a feeling when you can hire another employee or whatnot. Your numbers need to tell you that. So I think that if you're in the business of selling cookies or software, you might not know a whole damn lot about the growth of a business and when is the right point to allocate more salary to yourself, to maybe invest in, a business facility, right? Because then you pay for that with your profit, less tax you pay on the profit, and you invest it in your business. There's a whole lot of ways, but there's no one size fit all solution. So it means that, you just sometimes have to deal with it to not get in that penalty box.
Exactly. And one very important aspect also when we're talking about mitigating taxes and lowering that, one thing that many people have to understand is that there are legal ways to do it. So everything that we're talking about is legal. So we're not encouraging anybody to do anything illegal, right? So we're encouraging everybody to comply with all of the rules and with all of the laws, because if you do that, then your company will grow in a healthy way. You sleep better at night also. So I know as an entrepreneur, and especially right now, very, very coincidentally, we're talking about taxes on the 15th of this month. So I know that every 15 that comes around, you have this sick feeling in your stomach sometimes that you're gonna, be spending money and you don't know where it's going, and you don't see some things improving. But what we're talking about is applicable to everybody, and there are legal ways to do it as well, and they are very, very beneficial also when we're talking about growing your company. And that leads us to the other question also. Many entrepreneurs are struggling with this whole idea of, tax levels, and especially here where we are from, we're talking about a lot of social premiums, and there are different types of taxes and all of these things. And there's a lot of talk within the community right now about adding more taxes or increasing the taxes that we already have, which I can honestly say when we talk about entrepreneurship, when you talk with all of the other business owners, they're not happy with that. So they're actually frustrated with it because, business is already slow and now you're trying to increase that also. So when you talk about those types of things and, more taxes being added up onto the pile of taxes that we already have and entrepreneurs struggling with that, what's your opinion when it comes to that combination?
I mean, it's no secret that I love tax, and I do feel the government is spending the tax dollars or tax guilders in a just way. Listen, if you end up having to pay more tax, it just means your business is doing better, right? Because if we're talking taxes on your revenue and your turnover, that's just you sold more, you pay more. That's the nature of the game. We are not in a jurisdiction that has the highest tax rates, and we are in a jurisdiction that still has a lot of amazing facilities for business. I really think the educational part, the getting acquainted with the lay of the land of the rules and the opportunities that there are, that's where we have a cap, because it's a global issue and a global frustration among entrepreneurs and businesses that taxes seem to increase. Yet there's the big players out there that seem to not pay their fair share. But I think it really all comes down to education. I think it's more a gut feeling, like you said, like on the 15th, you wake up with a little itch in your stomach as to, I have to file my turnover tax return. I would encourage you and the listeners, viewers, to look at, but how much tax are we effectively paying, right? We call that the effective tax rate. You can break that down into the various types of taxes there are, from income tax, wage tax, turnover tax, and profit tax. But am I really paying more, or do I just not have the right structure? Am I paying too much and I don't have to? Should I be applying for a voucher? Have this lady at Ernst & Young look at maybe, so of course I have to make an investment to have her look at it, but maybe then for the next 5 years, you're paying less, or we're finding a way to invest it directly within your business, because I think it's really a gut feeling rather than the actual numbers as to, this month I paid 1,865 guilders in turnover tax, and next month it's 24, because unless you can come to me with a piece of paper or, a snip of your Excel, of your admin that says that you're actually effectively paying hundreds of guilders or dollars more every month, I'm not sure if it's just a gut feeling or whether it's really true, because people don't like to, go with the talk of the town, go with the rumors. This is a feeling. Because if all the business is slower, then we're paying less tax. So is this a mental state that we're all in, or do we actually feel it in the numbers? Because and just to be honest, I haven't put my finger on yet. So it might be true. More than happy to look into it and help, but I'm not sure if it's the truth.
Right. So, and that's
just to be devil's advocate
yeah,
here.
exactly.
Okay?
Yeah. When we talk about the government, just to talk about a bit of a political area, and go into that a little bit. Many people think that, Curacao has this enormous debt, and a lot of people think that, no, we have to increase taxes. And entrepreneurs say, no, don't do that because we're struggling already. When you're talking about, because sometimes the things that we struggle with as entrepreneurs when it comes to taxes is we're not prepared. Yeah. So it hits.
Because you're not prepared. So then you should have invested earlier on to get your fundamentals. Like when you're drawing up your business plan, tax was not a part of that. The proper managing of your own numbers and your own data wasn't a plan of that. It's only a surprise if you don't deal with it.
Right. So that's the big question. How do you better prepare if you have to advise an entrepreneur? How would they better prepare themselves for if there's any increases or adding on of different taxes?
Well, I think the increase of tax in Curacao is predominantly a shift in taxes. So it might increase in one area of tax and it might decrease in another, but nobody's talking and celebrating the decrease on other levels. It's only always about the negative, right? Because that's what we humans like to do, like complain and gossip, whatever. It's in our nature. We don't like change, and we like to bitch about things. I would encourage entrepreneurs to really, really look at the numbers and see how hard it's hitting you. And to get so on top of your own numbers game that if you would have to do this 1.5 minute elevator pitch to the Shark Tankish folks or whatever, like, you put on the spot, you're at that moment, you have to sell it. Dude, if you don't know your numbers, you're nowhere. Exactly. So the preparation comes from, the drive of the entrepreneurs, the startups, the scale-ups, the young ones, to not get freaked out by their own data and their own numbers anymore. Because if you have a good handle on that, if you are comfortable with what your monthly turnover takes, what your numbers are saying, I think a lot of fear, a lot of the anger, so to say, is gone. Because, and then again, I am one of these chickens that is on a payroll. I don't have my own business. I still have the utmost respect for people that have the balls to live their dream and do their own, set up their own business. But if you're telling me that you're not proud of yourself for paying more turnover tax in 1 month because your sales have gone up, shouldn't you be proud of your sales going up and not but maybe I'm oversimplifying this. But if you pay more, it means you did better. Right. This is just a very simple way of stating.
And a lot of people, just to wrap that part up, a lot of people say that when we're talking about the first statement that we talked about, that taxes destroy businesses, or that taxes is one of the biggest obstacles for starting and growing a business. Would you agree with that statement that taxes is one of the biggest obstacles, or
yes.
What would be the biggest obstacle when it comes to entrepreneurship?
Unmanaged taxes are the biggest obstacle, because they are the ones that lead to more envelopes in your mailbox. Not opening these envelopes leads to more envelopes, and eventually, the tone of the message in the envelopes changes from, the invitation to do your return, and then there might be a little penalty, then there's a re-invite, and then eventually it becomes a distressed warrant, and, you have folks picking up your flat screens. I really think, and maybe I'm oversimplifying this, but unmanaged taxes, unmanaged numbers is the biggest hurdle.
Would you say that, in your opinion, that's the biggest reason why companies would fail?
Yeah, because they are only focusing on their business and are lacking, well, probably the time. Also, it's not fun to deal with these numbers and taxes, but then by all means outsource it, right? We have this program and the vouchers that what we're doing for a lot of startups here in Curacao is, and the times that they would come to me with, their shoebox full of receipts. That does still happen, by the way, but just a little less frequent. Now we just get,
I have a stack.
Yeah, I'll take it with me after the interview and deal with it. No, I mean, now we get just, different varies of crooked Excels. Look at those numbers. Get a handle on that, because the answers are in there. That will give you the answer as to, can you hire another employee? That will give you the answer as, you're not managing your inventory right. Because what also happens, I mean, taxes is one part, it's the unmanaging of a business part of the dream that you have made into your business that is creating the destruction of businesses. Because if you go out and you have a brilliant marketing campaign and you're selling your face off in whatever you're selling, but you forgot to reorder your stock, that's also pretty destructive, because then you can't deliver, then you have unhappy customers.
Right. Exactly.
And unhappy customers are not going to bring in dough. You will pay less turnover tax on the 15th because you had less sales.
Exactly.
But there is a business element to whatever your shop is. If there's parts that you lack capacity or time or whatever it is, do invest in outsourcing that.
Exactly. So yeah, that's exactly true, because, a lot of entrepreneurship, when it boils down to, you have to be creative. You have to be innovative. Don't just wait for the problem to come. Deal with it head on. And especially when it comes to taxes, your accounting, your administration, as we've been talking about through this entire episode, it's extremely important for you to do that beforehand. So plan on it beforehand. And to finalize this entire topic, if there's any young entrepreneurs or people that might be aspiring to become an entrepreneur at this time, listening or watching right now, who are thinking about starting a business, or who are thinking or already have a business, or are trying to grow their business, what would you say to them is the most important thing that they have to take note of? And not only when it comes to taxes, but in general, what would you advise to them? What would you say to them to really encourage them to go out for their idea and actually become a success?
I would encourage them to go and freaking do it. Because I think it's, like I said, I have a lot of respect for especially young folks that are doing it. And what gives me a lot of energy to jump out of bed every Monday morning is the young entrepreneurship in Curacao. We really have a climate here, like I just feel the energy brewing. There's so much young ones that have business ventures, that reach out, that team up, that are just, they finish school and they just have the guts to go and do it. Please seek some advice, not help in terms of like, let's have someone do everything for me, but just seek mentorship. That really is what our EY Innovation Program is. Like I just said, you can have a lot of sales, but if you don't have the inventory, seek help in the areas where you lack the capacity, but also seek mentorship in terms of just a second set of eyes. Because if you're good at what you do, you're completely blinded by it's like Netflix, right? You go watch one episode and boom, there went the weekend. But you forgot to do groceries, feed your kid, whatever. I can imagine running a business is like that as well. Like you start and then poof. But you don't have to do it alone, right? The financial support is there. I think there's a lot of homegrown entrepreneurs like yourself, like our program, that would love to, just chime in, just another set of eyes, to motivate, that we'll pick up the phone and walk you through, we'll open these Belastingdienst envelopen for you together, but go and do it, but just see it in a holistic manner. Because if it's your business, it's not your hobby. And if it's your business, you have to run it as an adult. And with that come responsibilities and comes these nagging taxes that you have to pay. Well, guess what? It's not going to go away. Right. I can make it more fun and less painful, but it will never go away. So don't put the blindfold on, deal with it.
Exactly. No, amazing. Thank you very much for that advice. Any final words for anybody that's listening right now, who are watching, who are listening, that want to start their business, who might even be struggling? Maybe they have this stack of envelopes that they received from the tax office, the tax department, that they don't know. They're really pulling out their hairs trying to decide what they're going to be doing. Or maybe they're at the point that they have to decide, am I going to continue with this or not? Or they're at the point of saying, okay, I have this idea, am I going to do it or not? So if you can talk with them and encourage them, what would you say to them right now that they're listening to really encourage them to start and to grow their business?
Go ahead and do it. Have faith in yourself. Remember, taxes will never go away. They are an integral part of your business. Have the balls, the power, the will to go and strive your dream, but give me a call and make sure I'll deal with your numbers.
Awesome. Hey, Rose, thank you very, very much for your time. Thank you for sharing all of this knowledge. Thank you for sharing your experience also. I'm very, very sure that everybody found it extremely informative, educational, and also fun as well. I'm really, really privileged and honored to talk to you. Thank you for taking the time to do this as well. So guys, that was Rose Bouvet from Ernst & Young. What an exciting, what an amazing talk that we just had. I'm sure that it was very, very educational, informative, and motivational for each and every one of you as well. So if you're struggling with any of these things, we'll be sure to leave Rose's contact information so that you can contact her, so that you can learn more about this, so you can get help, like she said, to get mentorship where you're struggling when it comes to your administration or with your taxes as well. There is help. You don't have to do it alone. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Thanks for staying with us. Thanks for listening or watching till this part. I'm really, really sure that you learned a lot. If you want more information, you can go to our website, businesssuccess.com. We give you coaching also and consulting when it comes to any business topic, starting or growing your business, finances, and all of these things. We have different business courses also that you can find on our website that will definitely help to prepare you to start and grow your business to reach its level of success. So remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel and also subscribe to our Spotify account so that you can get all more episodes as soon as we make them and as soon as we publish them as well. Thank you for staying tuned. Till next time.